Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Havering. Smite Esports is back with Smite 2, but we've got the same old competitive bans to talk about, don't we? Oh, okay. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into it first of all. We're talking today about Angry. He is, or was, the mid laner on the EU competitive team Smokebreak, who finished second place in the EU Founders Series Week 1 open bracket last weekend. He was playing alongside Echrome, Eye Silence, Johnny, and Benko, aka Deathwalker. So it was on a very strong team. Historically been a very, very good European mid laner. Yeah, Angry, I just to give a bit of my history with Angry, I know him fairly well-ish. I teamed with him years and years and years ago. He was actually on the original Cyclone GG Ross, while we were called Loopy Landers or something at that point. The team that became Cyclone GG and eventually became Rival. So originally that roster was with Angry Mid and Tiki Jungle instead of with Wolfie and Ice. But Angry ended up getting permanently account banned, and so that didn't last. I've spoken to him a bit over the years, played a few games with him, a few games of CS. Overall, I'd consider him something close to an acquaintance, a friend, maybe. And I've watched his stream a fair bit over the last year. He's normally on in the mornings when I'm looking for something to just stick on my second monitor, when I'm drinking my morning coffee, doing some work, etc. Although I did stop watching him as much in the recent past because, in my opinion, he has become a bit louder and a bit nasty. He's been leaning into the toxicity thing, I guess, is what I'm thinking. But yeah, what's happened today? So he has been informed that he is competitively banned. I'll show my screen. I had this pulled up, which I didn't show at all yet. This was the EU bracket that went down in the final to Team Risk. So they finished second today. There's a Reddit post of Angry's tweet saying that he was suspended indefinitely from competing. The reason being terrible player conduct on stream. And he was been given some examples of the things he'd said, particularly saying the R word repeatedly and berating teammates is the reason. There is a very odd one in there saying, do not purchase the Founders Pack if you haven't already, do not play this game. I don't think... I think that being included in the reasons that he was banned is a mistake from whoever put this stuff together. And let Angry know that his conduct was unacceptable. I do not think that players should be being punished in terms of their ability to compete on whether they see purchasing the alpha version of Smite in its current state as worth it. I don't think that's a fair thing to include in the list, but I think the rest of the things are perfectly fair and fine to include, and are not very nice language, I think I would say. I have personally watched Angry's stream a fair bit, and I think he's adjusted his conduct to not say things in game much over the last little while, but he is still pretty... he says a lot of bad stuff to his viewers about the people who he's playing with pretty consistently, and uses words that I personally would not use. Playing competitive, in a lot of cases, you are an ambassador for the game and you are representing the game. I think this is a much more salient point when players are in a league and expected to represent the game, but it's still a privilege to get to be a top player in the game. Angry sets a very bad example, in my opinion, of what is acceptable to do and say in games. You know, that is something if you want to make if you want your player base to behave a certain kind of way, and if you want to try and make your game less toxic, having people streaming the game doing and saying the things that Angry says is a bad thing. Unfortunately, Angry has a history of this. I mentioned earlier on that he was permanently account banned. That was years and years ago. It would have been like 2016 possibly, that he was permanently account banned. And also there is a video that I produced. I actually did manage to find the competitive ruling here with the Wayback Machine. I'll link that down below. But there's a video I produced around this competitive ruling from April 14th, 2023. So April of last year is when this happened. So this was Angry getting banned for his conduct and the words he was saying back then. I will let you watch a clip of me talking about it now. He has since, let's just go through it. So basically, Discord screenshot regarding inappropriate and homophobic language used by the Smite Challenger Circuit player Angry, verifying the source and reviewing other evidence provided to the league operations team. They've determined it violates the rules. Basically, he's comp banned. He can appeal in the future, but he is indefinitely competitively banned from the league. Makes total sense. There is a Reddit post which has what he said, has a link in it. I'll link that down below if you want to take the time to pause and have a look or whatever. I'm not going to show it on YouTube just because I think it's probably not allowed. And yeah. But yeah, he was basically using a homophobic slur repeatedly and yeah, saying bad things. Not a surprising decision by the admins. It was actually done pretty quickly. Can I pull up Smite Pro? Let's pull it up. So you can see like they were consecutive posts on the Smite Pro Reddit 1 day apart. So quick stuff by the admins. They got it done quickly. A good decision in my opinion. Yeah, there's also some extra, I don't know, there's some extra context there. Angry also has had to appeal a competitive ban before. He had a permanent account ban, I believe, and had to appeal that account ban to play competitive in the first place. Sad to lose someone who is obviously an extremely talented player. I think there's a little doubt that he was the best mid laner in Europe for the last few years, but at the end of the day, you're representing the league. And that what he said is just egregious, repeated use of words like that over a fairly short time period. You can pull it up and see. I'll link that video and the screenshots of the things he was saying then down below. But as mentioned, he clearly has a history of saying things like this. He was previously account banned and definitely had to appeal to play competitive because of that. Made his way back into the competitive scene, and then due to his inability to reel himself in, got himself banned again in Smite. So got 2 indefinite or permanent bans in Smite 1, and now has managed to get, he's the first person to do the double, I think, of being banned in both Smite games for esports anyway. I think that in the admin's eyes and the people enforcing these rules, he clearly has not learned his lesson and is still doing and saying the same things that got him banned previously. And that's why they've gone straight to what might be considered a quite drastic step of an indefinite ban. I think people are going to argue that in a lot of cases, Smite 2 esports is being treated as separate from Smite 1 when it comes to things like seeding. For example, there is no seeding in these open brackets based on Smite performance in previous esports games. There's no advantage of having SPL players when it comes to seeding, for example. But I'm not really sure it flies. I think seeding and repeated patterns of behavior are a whole different thing. I think they've made that decision to make it a fresh start for esports in terms of the way the game's played and the way the game's seeded. But I think when someone shows you who they are and how they behave repeatedly, you can only give them so many chances. And I think that Angry has showed that he's either unwilling or unable to change his behavior to conform to the rules which the admins are trying to enforce, to behave in a way that they find acceptable. And because of that, they've given him an indefinite ban. I think, personally, would I have given him an indefinite ban? Probably not. I think it's a good way to set an example of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. But they could have made it slightly less. I don't like indefinite bans in general. I think indefinite bans and appeals as a first resort are maybe a bad way to go about it. I think if they banned him for 6 months, say, meaning that he's unable to compete in the Founders Series, and then able to come back into esports after that, I think that would probably be a more a one that's easier for people around the scene to receive, and also teaches the exact same lesson, which is this stuff doesn't fly. And hopefully Angry would then change in some way, shape, or form. It's clear that that's not worked up to now, and he's still acting the same way and saying the same things. I think that I can pull it back up, but I think in the screenshot he says, I know people may find offensive, but I do not intend to use it as so. I think that's, oops, I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry. I think that's, I mean, what do you mean you don't mean it offensively? What do you mean by it? If not something offensive, I don't know. I understand his intent here is to say that he's not meaning to draw comparisons with people who are, have a disability, maybe is what he means. But I think it's poorly worded. I think that the stuff around other content creators have said similar things and yet they faced no repercussions, I don't really think is true. I've watched Angry stream. If you've watched Angry stream, I don't think there are many or any content creators in the scene or competitive players who are as routinely being as nasty to the people in their games. I do think that Angry is the worst case of this. And I watch a fair amount of Smite streams. Maybe I avoid people in general who are saying these things, but I don't see it much, to be honest. And he says, I understand my past may not play my favor, but when others are doing it and only I get punished for it, I think it's a little bit hypocritical. I think he is almost being made an example of. I don't know if he's been reported and the admins have taken a look, or one of the admins just happened to be watching his stream one day, but it really would not be hard to find evidence of this kind of stuff. Yeah, I think if you gave him another chance, if you said, here's a warning, change your behavior, maybe he would do it. I think it's unlikely. I think that a permanent ban two permanent bans on record already mean that he would, I don't think he would change his behavior. I think he would still act the same way towards people in his games. And I think that if he wasn't banned now, it would only be further down the line where a suspension or a ban would be more damaging to the Smite 2 esports scene. For example, say that he qualified to the Vegas LAN, and then people, we've seen it before, Reddit posts come out about the way people speak and people's language that they're using, and then they get banned. It would be worse for everyone involved, I think, if it happened then. Which is maybe why they're taking the step now. But again, I would have done a 6-month ban or something like that personally. But maybe indefinite is the new normal, and that's essentially what this means. Normally, for indefinite bans, players get to appeal in about a year. I would say that given that this is Angry's, he was already on his 3rd chance. Are we on 3 strikes and you're out type situation, and he will not be able to appeal? I think it's possible. I would say it's unlikely that in a year he'll be able to appeal it again. But you never know. You never do know. Anyway, I'm interested to hear what you think within reason. So please be not weird in the comments down below. I will leave you with what I said at the end of my last video, hoping that maybe I was better at speaking then. Who knows? Around why I think that the whole like gamer words argument is silly, and that words are important. But yeah, yeah. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch up with you again this weekend for some more Smite Esports. Bye. It wasn't a long time ago either. These were from like summer of 2022, so it's not as if like, you know, he was a kid and he's grown up and he's changed. Nah, he's using this language repeatedly, where he considered to be private. Perhaps he considered it to be a safe space. I mean, you shouldn't use these words no matter how safe a space you feel like you're in. Seen a lot of this shit on Reddit. I hope you're not these people watching my videos, but like you people saying there being like, oh, it's just gamers using gamer words. I'm sorry to say you people, but people, I've seen a disturbing amount of that. I mean, just grow the fuck up, huh? You know, imagine if it was, you know, your identity that was used as a carte blanche insult for everything by lots of people, how that would make you feel. It's just horrible. It's a horrible thing to do. It really is not pleasant. There's so many words, and words, all they have meaning, and words are important, to be clear. Very important. It's what we've got, you know. It's much more important than how fucking strong you are and how hard you can bash a fish on the head to kill it and feed your family these days. Words are really important. Communication's really important. And yeah. Just miss me with that shit, please. That's half the reason I don't want to make videos like this, is because you get those people in the comments, and I really just can't be bothered with you. So maybe just, you know, take it back to Facebook or wherever you hang out.